strikeouts and only the third player to do so with one franchise. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I have several friends who are lawyers. No, I'm not going to share a story mocking attorneys, although I have a few. Decades ago, that was really my desire, but there were some issues in the way. One, there was no way my parents could afford to even help pay for it, so I would have to work my way through law school. At that time, there was only one night law school in Texas. So I took the LSAT and I passed. Yes, I did. So I moved to Houston, working in TV during the day. At night, I was planning to go to law school, but it became apparent law professors do not accept law students skipping class to cover a fire. And I was just beginning to make decent money in TV. So I walked away from that dream. But if I'd continued, maybe I could have been somebody. Maybe another Alan Dershowitz, maybe even bigger. In fact, maybe I could have ended up defending Hunter Biden in his cases. I might not want to, but everyone deserves the best defense they can afford. And that's what Hunter got, but he actually got a better deal. His defense attorneys are now suing him for not paying them. There's justice.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open, Napoli, Kirkwood.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best in each of us, made better by the best in all of us. Whatever success looks like to you, Stifel is invested in yours. That's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management firms in the country. So whether you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stifel, where success meets success. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
Give me land, lots of land under starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in.
Well, happy Independence Day Eve, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. And man, straight up to D.C. as the House is about to vote on the big, beautiful bill as soon as Hakeem Jeffries, otherwise known as a knockoff Obama, decides to shut his running mouth as he is filibustering. Interesting, though, because in 2021, Hakeem Jeffries tweeted this out. The filibuster is a Jim Crow era relic that has been used to stop progress for decades. Yeah. And he continues to go on and on and on to some degree where at one point they had somebody behind him. Her name is Marcy Kaptur, and she got a tap on the shoulder from Democrat staff because she was falling asleep during Hakeem Jeffries' speech, and they replaced her with a the new trans representative. So we're looking at this now, and it's like kind of fast forwarding as she's pulled off. She got the hook and was replaced with a trans rep, presumably because she was sleeping, but I doubt it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, up to Washington, D.C., and to the offices of Congressman Eric Burleson, who early on in the week expressed some disappointment with the big, beautiful bill, has been talked about throughout the week as a possible no vote. But we want to find out from the man himself, Congressman Eric Burleson, where do we stand? Where do you stand right now on the big, beautiful bill, my friend?
Yeah, so what the Senate sent back to us had a lot of stripped out a lot of good wins. It watered down quite a bit, and we negotiated with the White House. Spoke in person or spoke to the president himself, and we're able to we had a lot of discussions throughout the day, and those discussions as the vote started, we did not have a commitment. And so we held out until we got a firm commitment on what we were asking for from the White House to mostly fix all the stupid things that the Senate had done, but also to make sure that we were in fiscal, that we weren't going to be blowing up the deficit.
Yeah.
And so let me read to you a tweet from Brendan Duke, who is a former Biden-Harris National Economic Council tax guy. So he's a DC fixture. He says, he basically said that Chip Roy and the House Freedom Caucus will likely vote for the bill. People are going to call this a cave. It isn't. They have successfully rolled their moderate colleagues and achieved larger Medicaid, SNAP, and clean energy cuts than anyone thought likely 6 months ago. And that's 100% true. We fought tooth and nail to the very end, and we're able to get significant wins in this bill.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you can get wins, I as we talked about early on in the week, this has always been kind of the trap. And regardless of how you can get up there and want to do the right thing, and I again have issues with the fact that this was a big, beautiful bill to begin with, as opposed to several different small ones, which I thought we were getting to at some point. But nonetheless, there's a level of compromise here, and you are getting some things that you think are important and some other things that you're going to go for, but you didn't want. But then some other things are on the cutting room floor, which is fine with you.
Yeah. So, for example, if we had done the good thing about doing it all in one bill, and I was just reflecting on this with a colleague, or somebody outside the building today. Just for example, the cuts on the spending savings on Medicaid, reducing the provider tax from 6% down to 3.5%, would never pass by itself, and that's something moderates would have fought us to the end.
Yeah,
they would never vote for that, but they did vote. They had to vote for it because they wanted the big, beautiful bill.
Right.
We were able to get. I wish we had gone further with the tax stamps on firearms. We were able to get those reduced to zero. I'd love to get the registration, and I don't want to give away too much, but that was probably part of the conversations that we had with the White House is basically closing the door on that registration, or at least reconfiguring the ATS. And so a lot of wins, particularly. For example, one, ending a COVID era policy that is costing us, that will cost us over the next 10 years about $350 billion. Ending that significantly brings this bill into line financially with where our framework was.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm really,
if we had been like an absolute no, like a Thomas Massey absolute no, we wouldn't have been able to get any of these wins.
Right.
And so I think we took a bill that was a good bill to extend the Trump tax cuts, and we forced the moderates to take all of these conservative wins.
Yeah, I'm really glad you point that out. That's a very interesting, because I was kind of on this rap that, they ought to be separate. But, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do in the big, beautiful bill. You also get things that, as you just pointed out, you otherwise might not have even been able to achieve by dealing with the moderates, but making them make some compromises too. And I guess in that case, that's a conservative win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We got a lot of wins, especially, for example, the Green New Deal. We were able to get a significant portion of the Green New Deal eliminated. About 60% of it overall eliminated over the next 10 years, and by the end of the next 10 years, 90% of them will be eliminated.
Yeah.
And the Trump administration made it very clear that they hate all of the programs in the Green New Deal, and they want to go further with that. And so we'll remain to wait to see what they do, but expect some action on that front.
Okay. And then what's it like up there right now? This Hakeem Jeffries thing, I was looking at some pictures, because right now what they do is they stuff a bunch of bit actors behind him to make it look like he's just in this gigantic crowd of people speaking. But if you look elsewhere in the chamber, there's nobody there, right?
Right. That's right. He's talking. He's got about a dozen people standing behind him, and that's about it.
Yeah.
It's for the camera.
Crazy.
And what he's doing right now is just grandstanding. And ironically, he tweeted against this when I believe he was tweeting against McCarthy.
2021, yeah.
When McCarthy was doing this in 2021. So
he called the filibuster a Jim Crow era stall tactic to stop progress. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. And right now this is about his ego. He's breaking the record. And so that's what this is about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. He's not going to break Spartacus's record, is he? He better not. I mean, Spartacus won't be happy that happens. So what's the time? So is it really all depending on when he stops speaking? Is that what this is about right now?
Yeah, he'll stop speaking, and then Speaker Johnson is going to give up and give his pro speech, and it won't be this long.
Yeah.
And then we'll vote.
Okay.
And Johnson knows people want to get out of town, so he's going to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, listen, I think that the way you approach this, because I know that you probably got some short-term backlash from Trump world, and of course you did, but see, the difference is that you actually worked this, I believe, kind of the way our representative government should work. So you're representing your constituencies the best way you possibly can, but you're also going to be doing your protests or your concerns about things with the intent of getting something resolved, as opposed to just folding your arms and saying no. And so I'm really happy that I think the way you approach this, especially in the end, getting the wins that you got, Congressman Burleson, is really a feather in your cap. And of course, what a congressman should do, man. So it's really cool.
Thank you, Jamie. It's much easier to just be a yes man up here.
Yeah.
And to just fall in line, but you're not going to save the country doing that. And so it's painful. It's not fun to be in the meat grinder.
Yeah.
And to stay up and negotiate until 3 a.m. But that's what it's going to take, and I'm willing to do that. And I'm really happy to have by my side the new Congressman Bob Onder.
Yeah,
he showed his mettle yesterday. He showed bravery, as a freshman, to be able to join us in holding out until we got the best deal possible. That's tremendous bravery from the new freshman, Bob Onder.
Yeah, and Bob Onder, you don't get a guy who is more supportive of Trump in a lot of those circles up there. He was even a guy who spoke at the caucuses on behalf of President Trump. And so, yes, I think for both of you, it took a considerable amount of courage to stand up, take the lumps from people who were making too fast decisions and conclusions about you, and just put your head down, do the negotiations, and be able to come back and say, this is what we've won. So really appreciate it. It's been fun kind of watching the process, having talked to you on Monday. And so really happy that we've went full circle here, and hopefully you'll get home soon to enjoy the Independence Day that we all love. So
I can't wait to get back to beautiful Missouri.
right on. All right, Congressman Eric Burleson, thank you so much. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you, Jamie.
Okay.
Anytime.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. So that's really the process. It's been great to be able to see this. And there were some people who were even, when I had him on Monday, they were like, what are you doing, Allman? Like, you're encouraging not traitors, but, people who are, going against Donald Trump. And so I'm really not encouraging them as much as I am supportive of their positions on making sure we do the right thing. And if we can't get everything right, we need to get most of it right. And so that's why I picked him out, because, I heard his name all weekend as some kind of traitor to MAGA, whatever. And that's just not the case. And I think most of you, and I appreciated that, because when I had him on, most of you that I could see your comments, at least, were very supportive and figured that everything was going to work out. Congressman Burleson is not really like a Massey, and he's going to get as much as he can by playing as much chess as he possibly can. And I think he did, and it's really interesting. Hakeem Jeffries, who again is just an Obama knockoff, he is also an intense narcissist. And one of the qualities, I hate to call them qualities, but one of the marks of a narcissist is that they never acknowledge anything that they did or said in the past that is antithetical to their positions as victims, as poor me's or whatever. And so when Hakeem Jeffries in 2021 called the filibuster a Jim Crow era tool, and now he's actually doing it, it doesn't occur to him. It doesn't occur to anybody in the news media. He says it in 2021, calls it a Jim Crow era thing. And you know how these clowns throw around the Jim Crow stuff. And he doesn't even, he's able to do it with impunity, with nobody in any way, shape, or form like saying, hey, didn't you call this like racist one time? So it's just a crazy world we live in, but it's our world. And this is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Some really huge news when it comes to these diabolical COVID vaccines. I'm going to have that for you coming up. It's Common Sense Radio.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Hanson's Tree Service, hansonstree.com. Chad Hanson, who is a longtime friend of mine. I knew Chad when he was just a young whippersnapper. He was Jeff Hanson's son, and still is, obviously. Jeff Hanson, the late, great Jeff Hanson. We lost him a while back. But he's carrying on the great tradition of his dad. When it comes to tree service, when it comes to beautiful mulching options for your home, when it comes to taking a tree down at the best possible price you're going to find, when it comes to just making it easier for you to actually pay, when it comes to that best price, because he has financing plans for you, they constantly are in a mode where they're cleaning up. So once they're there, they'll come, take a tree out, and then you'll never know they were there, except for the fact that there's no longer a tree there. But you don't have a bunch of crap all over the place and sawdust and everywhere. They clean up, and then they are out. Hanson's Tree Service, world-renowned for its composting mixture. I don't know how many people out there in the yard care world have tried to kind of take over what I call the magic bean. It's a composting mixture that grows things just in ways you wouldn't ever just believe. It's great for your shrubs, great for your plants, everything else. And it's a composting mixture that works wonders on everything. And a lot of people are looking at it saying, Can we buy that for you and put our name on it? And they're like, nope, this is a Hanson's exclusive. HansonsTree.com. That's HansonsTree.com.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leak protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Just got sent a picture from my buddy Rodney Wallner of the Wallner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I'm a member of the team, and he's taking a little break, and he just put a picture out on the on the team text thread, and it's looks like a beautiful little coconut drink of some sort with a little orange in it, and there's a little sticker on there that says you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So that's the what do they call those things? Golly, I don't know where my brain is. The with the rum and the coconut. What's that called, Ashlyn? It's called a something-oddy.
Pina colada?
Ah, yes, it's a pina colada. I'm gonna lose my drinking badge if I don't can't remember little things like that, but that's okay. I'm ate up as it is. All right, so this is really great. You all know, man, our past in the annals of COVID and that time, I look back on that and I am so darn just absolutely ashamed of what we did, ashamed of our behavior, our kids, what we did to our children, how we hurt our children, how we tore apart their educations, how we allowed people to be separated from their churches. The church thing, man, I go to Catholic church, and these guys, they still don't do the precious blood anymore after COVID. These idiots all stopped doing it, probably to save money on the wine, you know what I mean? But you still don't even do that in church now. At least the churches I'm going to, they just stopped doing that. That's why all these lazy people decided they were going to just stop doing things. Hotels stopped cleaning rooms and all this other garbage. And so the laziest among us were the most victorious in the wake of COVID. The laziest, most cowardly people ruled the world during COVID. It was really, really bad. And all these freaks wearing masks, everybody looking so pathetic with a mask on. When you wear a mask, you look so pathetic and just boiled down into nothingness. It's just was so sad. And people just looked so pathetic. They were judging each other. They were pointing their fingers at each other. They were ratting each other out. And then, of course, we had the vaccines. And Linda says they at Assumption in O'Fallon, of course, probably out in God's country, you people all act properly. I'm in St. Louis County, otherwise known as basically hell. And everybody's the same in St. Louis County, it seems, at least in the that area there. And if they're not liberal, they're maybe Republicans, but they're babies. You know, they're Republican babies. You know, they're kind of those kind of people. Out there, you guys do it the right way. You always have done it the right way. So anyway, the vaccines, those were rough. And what Joe Biden did, and I'll never forget this, what Joe Biden did in this situation was he said he was going to mandate that businesses with so many number of his employees must make their people take the vaccine. And that was going to be the requirement. And I remember at that particular time that I thought he's never going to put this in writing. He's never going to put it in writing. But I also predicted, but guess what the people are going to do? Well, the people are going to do it anyway. The people are going to do it anyway. And so, in the end, guess what happened? Joe Biden never put pen to paper at all. And every business in the country mandated it anyway because they thought they were going to get punished or fined or whatever. All Biden had to do was say, hey, if you don't, we're going to fine you and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And man, they all did it out of fear. It was pretty crazy. And so these companies all mandated their employees get the vaccine. They had to prove to get the vaccine. So it was a total scam. It was done as a money grab, and it was a complete racketeering operation with a COVID vaccine that wasn't proven to be safe. And I think that's one of the things I wish that President Trump didn't do was fast track this thing, but he also trusted people to take care of business and get it done the right way, and he trusted them when they said it was safe. But he got also a ton of bad advice, and that's just, and I think he's the first one to admit that. So now, at least with Robert Kennedy Jr. in there and everything else, the Food and Drug Administration has now decided updated the safety labeling on all COVID-19 vaccines to reflect what many Americans have been warning about for years, and that was the extreme high risk of myocarditis, particularly in young men, long-term irreversible heart damage. It was no accident that we saw all these young athletes dropping like flies. High school athletes, college athletes, young men all dying. I mean, if you went out on the web in the 2022, 2023 zone, and sometimes even the 2024 zones, you kept on seeing like high school quarterback drops dead, and it's just as the craziest damn thing. And it happened all over. And there ought to be people who pay for this, who are held responsible for this. There are people who never mind the educations of children ruined, the scholarships, awards, things that would advance them in their careers, all stripped away from them because of the lockdowns. And St. Louis County, of course, was terrible. Governor Parson was a coward. He didn't step in, and he allowed crumb-mouth Sam Page to destroy people's lives. And what are they doing now? Just muddling right along. Nothing to see here. Closing businesses, everything else. And there was never any real reason behind it. There was never really any explanation. And there was never any proof that the vaccine. So people were thinking that the vaccine was going to keep them from getting COVID, and they still got COVID after it. Well, that's why you need another shot, and spread it and did everything else. And there might have been some older people who got COVID and maybe didn't have the effects of the shot, but there was no reason for anybody under 50 to get the COVID shot. And everybody was scrambling. They couldn't get enough vaccines. Oh, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I mean, it was really, really bad. And then there were people who wouldn't associate with you if you were not vaccinated. And that was another problem too, is family members and people like that. Like someone who wasn't vaccinated couldn't get near a baby, even though there wasn't one example of a baby ever even getting COVID. Which, going back to that, by the way, is one of the reasons, another example of proof that the COVID virus, was absolutely engineered because it behaved like a robot. I mean, can you imagine? It only went after people who were fat, who were unhealthy to begin with, kidney disease, or old in some cases. But yeah, if you were old and fat and unhealthy, you were dead. There's no question about it. You had the target right on you. But for the rest of us, everybody else, it wasn't a thing. I mean, can you imagine how dangerous COVID should have been for kids? I mean, if COVID was that bad and put people in the hospitals on ventilators and stuff, which half the time was the wrong way to go, it probably killed them. But can you imagine, like, if it were really an organic virus, it would have affected everybody. I mean, I'm not a virologist, I'm no scientist, but we know what that's like. You know, everybody gets a cold. Kids get colds, right? Kids get fevers. But boy, it's weird. They never got COVID, not one of them. And so, and that's because if it ever was found out that it was an engineered virus, and it started killing kids, they'd have hell to pay, believe me. So they kept the kids out of their calculations in terms of who they wanted to kill with it. And they figured they would just kill off people who were burdens anyway. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that if somebody died of COVID, they were a burden, but you know what I'm saying. It was kind of an easy thing to, it could, because what could happen is you started killing off a few people with it, and then you have people like Fauci and others lying about the numbers of people who could die, and it took a couple years before people realized, nobody except like older, fat, and unhealthy people are dying from this. We all got the vaccine and everything else and closed down the restaurant and did all this kind of stuff. And then until we finally realized that, you know, it wasn't killing anybody except for those types of people. And maybe you have a couple unlucky people out there. I don't know. And so what happened is you could use that and just the fear, because once you started picking people off, you know how it is when in movies and stuff, when they've got people and they kill somebody as an example. Well, it takes the rest of the crowd and they're suddenly filled with fear because they don't want it happening to them. So what you do is you kill a few select people, especially grandma and grandpa, right? And then you start making people feel guilty because you're going to kill grandma and grandpa if you're not vaccinated, or if you don't close this down, or if you go to church, or if you go to a restaurant, you're going to come back and kill grandma and grandpa. It was all set up. And now the vaccine has been killing people. And so the warnings that the FDA are announcing apply to both Pfizer's and Moderna's vaccines. Remember, a long time ago, when Dr. Fauci was like, I think they're coming up. Somebody's coming up with a vaccine. But I think the company's called Moderna. Like he didn't know what that company's name was. I don't know. It might be like he's the guy who's a health director in the federal government. And he's like, I don't know. What did they call it? Moderna? They knew everything about this. Man, if there's one person I would love to see, virtually swinging from a tree, it'd be Fauci. I don't mean really. I'm just thinking, a visual. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway. Finally, warnings on the vaccines, but a little too late for a lot of people, and especially a lot of young people who lost their lives or are going to be permanently disabled and don't even know it yet. It's Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Yes, everybody. Stewie's American Mortgage. Stewart'sAMC.com. So here's the deal. Stewart is the poobah. He's the one who came up with the idea of the bagel loan. All you have to do is Google the bagel loan. And really what the bagel is a zero. Meaning no closing costs, no lender's fees, not a bunch of stuff that is in one way, shape, or form. You're paying for credit pulls and all that kind of stuff is what the other guys do. And so it's really pretty amazing what these guys are going to do for you. And it's not only when you're buying a home. So I work with these guys really closely as an agent, buyer's agent with the Walner home selling team. I'm always utilizing Jordan, who is Stuart's son, or Stuart, to set my people up, get them pre-approval for their loans, which is really super easy. Getting that pre-approval is definitely a big deal. And then you're ready to go. You can go and look at homes. And if you need to make an absolute decision right off the bat, you've got that pre-approval and you could go. The worst thing you do is I go look for a home and then go get pre-approval. And then by that time, someone else has grabbed the home. So anyway, that's really important. They could do that in 20 minutes for you. Then you've got the refis, and then you've got the debt consolidation and everything else. And that's really important as well. All zeros, mostly, no closing costs, lowest rate you're going to find anywhere in the land, and they're putting money back into your pocket. Stewart'sAMC.com, or just Google the bagel loan, and then when you do talk to them, tell them Jamie Allman sent you, because that's cool too. Stewart'sAMC.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Some things never go out of style, like standing for the national anthem, barbecue at the family picnic, and fireworks on the 4th. This Friday,
4th of July.
Let's celebrate our freedoms.
God bless America.
From your local American favorites, Ruthie's Family Restaurant, Gerald Home Center, Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions, and News Talk STL.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Dr. Pamela Denise Long is a black female Republican running for U.S. Senate in Illinois. We'll find out at 5:20 what she stands for and if she has a chance of winning her race.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. And forget about all those military guys and all those people out there, who fought for our freedoms and preserved our independence. Hakeem Jeffries actually is the national hero. He just completed, broke the record for the longest House speech. You know,
when you launch an all.
By the way, can you believe in this consequential time? And they're all sitting there, and they are clapping for him. This is how narcissistic and juvenile these people are. Like, this guy babbles on, filibusters. By the way, in a filibuster he called racist 4 years ago. And now they're all cheering him because he did the longest speech. Can you imagine all the people out there who are suffering at the hands of our oppressive federal government, who are trying to make ends meet every day, going to work today and wondering, well, you can choose it. Is this the day that you worked solely for the federal government? Is this the day, or was it Wednesday? Well, I know it probably was maybe Tuesday and maybe half of Wednesday, but I do know that a day and a half of your life out of every single week, you're working solely to fund the government because you're a serf and you're a peasant. I hate to break the news to you because I am too. We're still happy. We still are happy-go-lucky, happy warriors. Yeah. But that's what we're doing. And so can you imagine the American people, us peasants, watching the TV and seeing people clapping for this Obama knockoff because he broke a record for the longest speech using a filibuster that he called racist 4 years ago, and they're all clapping. They're all congratulating each other for the filibuster speech. I mean, this is really absolutely crazy. And Kathleen, thank you for mentioning that too. We still have the love of Jesus in our heart because we still have faith that things are still going to be okay, that our serfdom isn't forever. And if it is forever for us, our serfdom doesn't carry with us up to heaven. And hopefully, by the actions that we are doing today, we are further moving the ball towards a point where our children aren't going to be serfs and peasants up until the day they die in this country. That's all we can hope for. That's all we can try to do is not pass the chains along, but pass the keys to the handcuffs along as we go out the door. And that's really the key. But can you imagine, though, just being a normal, average, everyday person like you and me, and we got to sit there and watch a TV of this clown, Hakeem Jeffries,
out assault.
And by the way, faking the whole thing because he had some people behind him and nobody was in the chamber. I mean, these left-wing kooks are so fake. They lack such authenticity. And golly, I mean, I can only imagine what it's like being up there among these people. It's really nuts.
On the health care of the American people. When you effectively end Medicaid as we know it.
And by the way, how is it that the longest House speech is an achievement? Because I don't think anywhere else a record-breaking speech is something that you'd be rewarded for. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's an award for I had the longest valedictorian speech, Mom and Dad. Oh, really? How long was it? 2 days. Oh, well, I'm sure everybody who was in the graduation were just loving that, right? Or, whatever. Or you go to church and there's a priest who is working towards the longest homily in history. And so he's going to go and speak, and he's going to speak for a whole day. Like normally your mass is an hour long. This would be 24 hours long. Like you'd have to be sitting there listening to because the priest, if it's all about him, right? He wants the longest homily in the world. Or how about commencement address? I'd love it. Wouldn't it be great if Hakeem Jeffries maybe next year was asked to do a commencement address, and I'm gonna do it. The longest commencement address anybody's ever seen. And then he like bores an entire university to death. It'd be really great.
Gut.
I'm
Parts
sorry.
of the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some of them were, there was one lady supposedly sleeping. And so that was the one, before I got to Eric Burleson at the beginning of the show, that was the one where somebody tapped her on the shoulder and said, listen, you old hag, you're sleeping. Get out of here. We're going to replace you with the transvestite. What do they call them? Transgendered person. Do people even say that anymore? Transvestite, or is a transvestite different than transgender? I think a transvestite's different than transgender. Transvestites are women who men who dress as women, and transgender are men who dress as women. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm new here. I'm just learning the English language and trying to stay on top of it. So I can't always know exactly what's going on. So it just seems to me that those things are kind of the same. So I will wrap up to what we said earlier with Eric Burleson. He's a yes vote. And right now, Speaker Johnson is speaking on the bill before the House votes on it. The chances are probably pretty good that they will have voted on it by the end of the show. So we will keep you posted on that. We're plugged into Newsmax and definitely thinking, let's see what Mr. Johnson, Speaker Johnson, has to say as we're getting into the House.
Weakness at home
voting on
that
the
fueled
big,
instability abroad. And because trillions in reckless spending put the price of gas and groceries further out of the reach for hardworking Americans. It wasn't right. President Trump and our Republican majority in Congress are fixing all of that right now. President Trump said this week, we're the hottest country in the world again.
True that.
My friends, that is an objective truth. Hey, listen, how about all the wins for the president and this party? Here's just a sample from the last 2 weeks. The headline today will be, the one big beautiful bill passes the Congress, okay? You got to hold your applause. There's too many wins. Are you tired of winning yet? Fourth jobs report in a row exceeds expectations. A sample of the headlines. Lowest monthly border encounters in U.S. history. We closed the border.
All right, so you get the point, though. And again, Burleson was really, I really loved being able to talk to him about this because, on Monday, he was kind of a tentative no vote. And he got a lot of pushback from Trump world about that. I actually lauded him for it because I appreciated his skepticism of the bill, because I figured, well, let's see how this plays out throughout the week. And how it played out throughout the week was Congressman Burleson, along with Congressman Onder, too, by the way, from our delegation, sought and stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning negotiating a lot of these Trump initiatives that they wanted to make sure stayed in the bill and were not watered down by other stuff. And so gradually this process worked in a way that by the end today, Burleson is a yes vote on the big, beautiful bill. And he also corrected me on something, or at least filled in the blanks for me on something, which I thought was great. Because one of the things I was talking about with the big, beautiful bill is, boy, I sure wish that sometimes we would just simply vote on not a big, beautiful bill, but we'd vote on them separately so that we didn't get sucked into some of the things that we didn't want to do. And Congressman Burleson pointed out, well, It's also a double-edged sword because we got a lot of things in the big, beautiful bill that if they were voted on alone would never be approved because the rhinos wouldn't let them be approved. So what Burleson and Onder and some of these other people did was, while the rhinos were sneaking in some of their garbage and their baloney into the bill, the conservatives were sneaking some of their really tough stuff and maybe even more consequential stuff into the bill. And so by the time what I feel like it was the conservative congressman saying, "Hey, Rhino, look over there." And then they're putting stuff in the bill that we love. And so, I think that in the end, a lot of people were just jumped the gun just a little bit, which is why I didn't when Burleson was on with me Monday. Because I wanted to have him on because I was hearing his name dragged through the mud all weekend long by a lot of people in the Make America Great Again movement. I'm like, I want to have him on, not to yell at him. I want to have Congressman Burleson on to hear him out and see, because I respect Congressman Burleson. He actually is a very smart guy from the Springfield area down there and very level-headed. And so, when Massey says, "No, I'm not going to do this," you're kind of, okay, typical Thomas Massey. But when Burleson has questions, you're like, oh, well, I want to hear what those are because I trust this dude and I really respect him as a true conservative. And so I was like, I want to hear what he has to say because he has more credibility than a Thomas Massey does, even though I still respect Thomas Massey. And then, of course, you get a guy like Bob Onder, who was just unbelievably supportive of Donald Trump. I mean, he went and spoke on behalf of President Trump at the Iowa caucuses, all those kinds of things. So when Bob Onder has an issue, you're like, oh, man, we got to figure this one out. Massey supported DeSantis, never was a Trump supporter anyway. And so you're getting kind of that whole pearl clutchy part of Thomas Massey. But when you got two guys who are Trump guys and they're like, I don't know about this, then you start to listen. And so I believe in the end, as Congressman Burleson pointed out, there were some real great wins that weren't there 5 days ago or 4 days ago. So that's good enough, at least for me. We'll keep you updated on the voting, everything else. And in the meantime, we harken back to the bad old days of Republicrats like George W. Bush. And guess what? He didn't disappoint. He, Bono, and Obama with some really embarrassing stuff regarding USAID. Also, my buddy Billy Bush is going to let us know about a pretty big weekend out there at Bush Family Brewing and Distillery. It's going to be great. Talk at you on the other side.
Attention, reptile lovers. Ready to discover your next scaly friend? Welcome to the Show Me Reptile Shop, your ultimate destination for fascinating reptiles and exotic pets, with 3 convenient locations in Troy, St. Peters, and Springfield. We have an amazing selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, and more. Whether you're a seasoned herpetologist or a curious beginner, we've got the perfect pet waiting for you. Show Me Reptile Shop. Visit us in Troy, St. Peters, or Springfield, and online at showmereptileshow.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Replacing your windows and doors? Do not settle for ordinary. Go extraordinary. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service window and door replacement division of Anderson, a name trusted for more than 120 years. Their exclusive FiberX material combines the strength, durability of wood with low-maintenance features of vinyl. You get windows and doors twice as strong as vinyl, energy efficient, built to last. For a limited time, get 25% off every window, patio door, or entry door. No payments for 18 months, 0 interest. This is their best new client discount. Dial pound 250, say the keyword windows, or visit rbastl.com. Pound 250, keyword windows, rbastl.com. Get your free estimate. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Democrat Hakeem Jeffries' magic minute entered hour 9, but has ended, with the House now on the verge of passing President Trump's big, beautiful bill. More from Bernie Bennett.
House Republicans early Thursday morning advanced President Trump's big, beautiful bill, teeing up a final vote after a marathon day of negotiations and a dramatic overnight vote. But before the House could take a final vote, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries got a so-called magic minute, an unlimited amount of time to argue against the bill on the House floor. Earlier in the morning, Speaker Mike Johnson kept the procedural vote open for almost 6 hours as GOP leaders persuaded holdout Republican members to vote in favor of it. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
Also at townhall.com, it's something President Trump has lobbied for, and now it seems to be taking shape.
The president has urged European nations to take a larger role in helping Ukraine battle the Russians. But now Ukraine is pursuing plans for joint weapons production with its European allies. The move comes as the U.S., concerned about depletion of its own weapon stockpiles, postponed shipments of arms to Ukraine. That decision by the U.S. has ratcheted up the pressure on the Europeans to do more to help their neighbor in need. Rich Thomason, Washington.
The Supreme Court has agreed to review a case on transgender students' participation in school sports. The justices say they will review lower court rulings in favor of transgender athletes in Idaho and West Virginia. The case highlights a broader national debate over transgender rights, with more than 24 states enacting laws that restrict transgender athletes from participating in certain sports. Hurricane Flossie weakening to a tropical storm off Mexico's southwestern Pacific coast, winds less than 50 miles per hour. More at townhall.com.
Hi, Mike Gallagher here. As the summer heats up, so do the bills. If you're like a lot of folks, you're not selling your home anytime soon, but that equity you've built, just sitting there. That's why I trust Mike and Brian at Fellowship Home Loans. Love this place. It's in their name, their DNA. They're the team I've used personally, and they treat every client like family. Fellowship Home Loans. They know how to help you tap into your home's value wisely, whether that's a HELOC or a cash-out refi. Fellowship is a direct lender and operates with your best interest in mind. Maybe it's time to finally knock out that renovation, pay off some debt, or just add a little cushion to your retirement account. With rates still reasonable and inflation squeezing all of us, your home might be the smartest financial tool you've got right now. So if you're staying put this summer, make your home work for you. Visit my friends at Fellowship Home Loans, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
After hitting highs in the low 90s this afternoon, we should be in good shape for local fireworks displays this evening, around 84 at fireworks time with a clear sky. 75 for the early morning low on Friday. A little hotter, a little more humid for the 4th of July. Mostly sunny tomorrow, up to 94, heat index at 98. And the humidity trends even higher Saturday and Sunday. Heat index touches 99 both days. Some scattered showers and storms possible Sunday. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Pat Chambers.
Reed's
Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters for families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
Reed's Rockets in Wright City has your fireworks. Try the Max 800 shot for a 30-minute show. Want the ultimate American celebration? Get This Is America with over 100 gigantic color bursts. Family owned and operated, Reed's caters for families with the biggest kid selection. Spend $100 or more and get a kids assortment free. Reed's Rockets, 425 West Service Road North in Wright City. Take I-70 exit 199 and look for the big red and white striped tent. Open through July 10th. ReedsRockets.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you are in a situation where you are about to retire, or you maybe are newly retired, or what have you, you got to make sure that Gemini Wealth Group is on your side. The Gemini Wealth Group is an outstanding group of individuals. Jeff Portman is my guy out there at 314-888-0123, 314-888-0123. Jeff and the crew are going to be able to really make it happen for you in terms of adequate diversification. Super important when you are in retirement mode, because you want to make sure that money that you have saved your whole life is working for you and performing for you as you are going into your golden years of retirement. And also, don't forget that you want to make sure you're thinking long-term as opposed to short-term, that you're thinking 10 years down the road, what your tax or what your health liabilities are going to be, what your living arrangements are going to be, and how that's going to affect you. And they can help you plan and craft all this kind of stuff. And if you are just newly retired and you don't have anybody, make sure you get somebody who's going to help you out. The GeminiWealthGroup.com, the GeminiWealthGroup.com is where it's all at. They're going to make sure that everything is going to go swimmingly for you as you are going into that wonderful retired life, so you can enjoy it without worries. And if you are newly retired and you already have somebody, or maybe you're 5 years in, you already have somebody, you might want to get a second opinion if you're not too comfortable and things might not be working out for you, at least in the interim. The GeminiWealthGroup.com or Jeff Portman directly at 314-888-0123.
This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com.
Open the door, baby, turn on the light. We're gonna have a party tonight for a rocker. For a rocker.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Independence Day Eve. It's going to be a fun one always, and the weekend is where you get the enjoyment. So you have, of course, you have July 4th, you have Independence Day and all that, all the fireworks, all the fun, and then you've got a whole weekend ahead of you. It's great, Saturday and Sunday, and there's no better place to hang out and enjoy the Independence Day weekend that at Bush Family Brewing and Distilling. I am proud to say that occasionally I am a bartender there. I did a lot more when I was not doing real estate, but since I did that, it's taking a little time away from my being able to be out there in God's country in Defiance at really what is an amazing establishment, and being able to hang out with the likes of one of my heroes, Billy Bush, who is just a great guy. And boy, has Bush Family Brewing and Distilling really grown into not just a place where you can get great German cuisine and a dozen different handcrafted beer, which is right there on the premises. But now, of course, we're doing rodeos, we're doing concerts, we're doing basically farmers markets, what's called green markets. And so I want Billy to go ahead and tell us all about it. Billy Bush, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Jamie, thank you for having me on. I'm doing great, thank you. And we miss you out there. I know you're busy with your real estate, but everybody's always asking, where's Jamie? Because you are a great bartender of ours, Jamie. And occasionally when we still get you out there, we love it. So thank you for all you do for us.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and it really was great. I mean, and just getting to know people. And now, of course, so many people I know out there who are people who are guests, who are on a first name basis, and it's really fun just to kind of see people. It's just like going back to a family reunion. So I'll be back out there again shortly. The day after, the 5th, is when you begin the first of the series of rodeos, which are always a gas, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, you know what? The 5th of July, you're exactly right. Now it's going to be the first Saturday of every month starting this month. Of course, that's the 5th of July. And what more patriotic way to enjoy the 4th of July weekend than to come out to a rodeo event, which is incredibly patriotic. And we had a series of 4 of them last year. People really, really enjoyed it. They bring out 25 bucking bulls. They bring out a bunch of bronc horses, and they interact with the public so well, and the crowd that comes out because they have the mutton busting for the kids. That means the kids get to go out and ride sheep for a prize. And then they bring out people, and the clowns have fun with everybody. And, you know, it's just like being in the West, you know, the old West out there in Wyoming or Montana or something like that. You get that feel out there because that's what the environment looks like. And it's a great rodeo, great fun, and we hope people come out and enjoy it again this year.
Yeah, it's so unique to this area. And folks, when I do tell you about Bush Family Brewing and Distilling, it really is a part, a culmination of a real dream of Billy Bush's. And if you read his book and you know anything about how he was brought up and everything else, living there on Grant's farm, and kind of always hanging out with some of the farm hands who were like his brothers and sisters almost to a certain degree. But then now fast forward to this vision of having not only a Grant's Farm West, so to speak, but also having this entertainment venue, you know, and you just added also that farmer's market, we'll talk about in a second. But that rodeo is something that from some of your travels out West, you kind of said, you know, this would be great out in God's country in Defiance. And so that's kind of a part of a little bit of your experience traveling around the country.
Well, you're exactly right. You're you know, to call it Grant's Farm West is fairly appropriate because I grew up on Grant's Farm, entertaining guests, you know, by the thousands each summer out there, keeping the place looking beautiful, working with the farm hands and taking care of the animals. And we're doing the much of the same stuff out at Bush Family Brewing and Distilling, Bush Family Farm. And having a rodeo out there just made a lot of sense. You know, the people out there, they're very patriotic. They really enjoy the outdoors. And what better way to entertain than having a rodeo? And it's something that you just don't see a lot of unless you go to state fairs or things like that, or you go further out west and you get a lot of them out, you know, in Colorado in that area. But, you know, to have them closer here to us is something that we're able to put on, and we're really happy to do it. We got really cold beer out there. You know, it's going to be a hot weekend, and to have the cold beer that we brew proudly right there on the premises. And our own whiskey, our own exclusive whiskey, and the great food, and we'll have a full bar, and hopefully we'll get a good crowd out there, and they're going to really enjoy themselves.
Yeah, the Bridal Spur whiskey, folks. Even if you want to take a bottle home with you, it's 95 proof. It's 75% corn. It's got a real nice sweetness and heat to it, and it's a Billy's recipe that he took down there to Frankfurt, where they're distilling it down there. But it's Billy's recipe, and it's really good. It's a groundbreaker. So next time you're out there, definitely ask for it by name. I'll make you a Manhattan or an old fashioned with it, whatever you want. And of course, the food is great. And man, when I was out there last time, that new is it that orange beer, the blood orange beer? I can't remember.
Blood orange.
Yeah. I mean, it is really great. You guys have come up with some real new ones out there. And so it's funny. One time somebody came in and I was like, they said, "Do you have any domestic beers?" I'm like, yeah. These are brewed right over there, 10 feet away.
Right over there. It's as domestic as you can get.
I know.
You're right. The blood orange in the summertime is a great, refreshing beer. And
yeah.
We also have the raspberry wheat now that was just brewed a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be on tap at the rodeo. And another wheat beer, another fruited beer, and I can't remember what the heck it is.
Yeah.
But very refreshing. We've got the what do you call the beer with the juice in it? I can't even think of it right now. But of course, we'll have the Adolphus Pilsner in honor of my great grandfather who founded Anheuser-Busch, the Gussie Bavarian in honor of my father, and everybody's favorite is going to be the Kräftig Light.
Yeah.
People enjoy that. It's a great, refreshing beer during the summer, too. And I was thinking of the seltzers, and we're going to have a seltzer stand out there.
Oh, good.
And all the different flavored seltzers.
Yeah, I really, as much as I do like all the different varieties of the brand new beer you guys make and that I serve, I still love the two brothers, Adolphus and Gussie, man. Those are still, the Bavarian Lager and a Pilsner. Those are two just really, and by the way, by the only Busch still brewing beer in the world. So that's something to say if you guys know St. Louis and know the legend of St. Louis and the Busch legend. Billy is the only Busch still brewing beer in the world, and that's really something right there. And then on Sundays, are you doing this every Sunday, right? The Green Market?
Yeah, we're doing the Green Market every Sunday. Right now we have about five to eight vendors that come out and sell their goods out there, whether it's jewelry, organic peanut butter, different flavored peanut butter, a lot of cutting boards. There's a number of other things, clothing, and a number of other things that these vendors are bringing out. I'm just waiting for the organic farmers to come out, Jamie, and bring out that great sweet corn, which is, about ready to be picked here in Missouri, and as well as the tomatoes and the peaches. So we're trying to get some of the organic farmers to come out and put up some stands and sell some of those things too, because that would go like hotcakes. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, if you guys know anybody out there, especially you guys who do some of the meat co-ops and stuff like that, it's really a great place for you to put your wares and put your hard work out in front of people, because the Green Market is very popular. Plus, it's beautiful out there. It's a great excuse even just to kind of go out to Busch Family Brewing and Distilling in Defiance and take a ride out there. But if you know people who do the organic farming and of course, obviously the meat and all that kind of stuff, that's a great place to sell it. And all you got to do, I guess, is go to bushfamilybrewingandistilling.com and be able to find a tab to be able to locate somebody to talk to about that, right?
That's exactly right. And the great thing about it is we started June 1st with our first Green Market, also known as a farmer's market. And it's been slowly but surely building each Sunday. And we're going to run this every Sunday through the end of September. And so I think as we continue this, more and more people are finding out about it. More and more people are attending the farmers market on Sundays. We open at 11 o'clock in the morning. You can stay after you've mingled around and checked out the vendors. Stay for lunch, sit down, enjoy a cold beer or whatever you'd like to drink, and enjoy the beautiful environment out there, and have something to eat. And it's going to be every Sunday from now until the end of September.
Yeah, and you guys, you got JP and his crew out there making some of the really best food, the kind of food that just goes down so great with an ice cold beer. And that smash burger is all the rage, but also Billy's brisket, and they pile it high, people. Just so you know, a pile it high there at Bush Family Brewing and
Pile it
Distilling.
high and let it fly.
Right on, buddy. Right on. Well, listen, congrats on such a great place. Now open 2 years, I guess, right? Two. Yeah, two.
Yeah,
and a half,
we're
2
on
years.
our second year
Yeah.
right now. And one thing I'd like to also remind folks of, go to our website. You can see what's going on every second Saturday starting this month also. So the first one will be June the 12th, July the 12th will be our first music fest. We're going to have 4 entertainers out there. The feature band will be from Nashville, and we open the gates at 4:00 in the afternoon. That's the second Saturday of every month, starting now until through October. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We call it our Music Fest, and great entertainers are going to be there. So come on out. Again, enjoy the cold beer and some good music and the beautiful environment out there. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then you get into September and October, and autumn out there is absolutely beautiful as well. And I know that you guys have music out there that's not the festival type, but you just have some bands out there, musicians out there during the days on Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes even Friday nights. So all you have to do is kind of go to the website, Bush Family Brewing and Distilling.com, and you'll see the list and you'll see the schedule right there. Well, Billy, it's been great having you on. Thank you for all the opportunities you've given me out there, and congratulations on a really amazing place with amazing people. I miss so many of the peeps I work with, but I'll be back, and I miss a lot of the people out there, but I'll be back. But I appreciate the opportunity, and great having you on.
Well, it's a pleasure always being on with you, Jamie. Thank you for having me. And you're right, we do have wonderful people like yourself working out there and taking care of the guests that come. And it's great. We're very blessed to be able to have the people we have and have this facility. And I encourage everybody to come on out. And thanks again, Jamie, for having me on.
Yes, sir. It's great to have you on, Billy. Happy Independence Day to you and the family, and we'll talk to you soon.
You betcha. Take
Okay,
care,
buddy.
Jamie.
All right.
Happy
See you
4th
later.
to you.
You too. Yeah, that is Billy Bush. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you got the only Bush brewing beer in the world. Okay, so the House GOP needs 217 votes. Let's check in with Newsmax real quickly before I gotta take a break here and see what's happening with the big, beautiful bill. Byron Donalds is on the air with him now.
Donald Trump's already secured the border. Now, Tom Homan and Kristi Noem are going to get the resources they need to send a lot of people back to their home countries. We cannot have what occurred under Joe Biden's watch continue in the United States. Donald Trump campaigned on this. That's why he has a mandate that we're going to deliver.
The GOP can only lose 3 votes here. And so right now we're at the totaling, and the time remaining is 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Time remaining, and the totals right now, the yays are 208, and that is all Republican, and the nays are 211, and that's 210 Democrat and 1 Republican who has voted no. So we're going to take a quick break here and come back, and by that time we'll know a little bit more about what is going on this Independence Day Eve as the big, beautiful bill is up for a vote in the United States House of Representatives. This is Common Sense Radio.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Window World, 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less. And indeed, this window is a great window. My goodness gracious. You've got a window that is thermally superior to all the rest. And you've got a window that is double paned. You have a window that you can stand on. It won't break. You have a window that's going to save you money on your heating and cooling bills. And your window looks really good from the outside and the inside. So it gives you some curb appeal. And also you're looking out the window from your house and you're like, these are beautiful windows right here. Has the good housekeeping seal of approval. And also it has the thumbs up from Qualified Remodeler Magazine. And this Qualified Remodeler Magazine says, man, this thing sells more than any window in the world. And that's why we love to call it Window World, the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues. 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less. They have financing deals for you. And if you go on the web and look at all the reviews and things like that, wonderful free estimates. You'll have somebody come out to the house and could show you exactly how these windows are going to work. And you can't even ask them to stand on it and see if it breaks, just like I said, because it won't. And that's the durability and beauty of the Window World window. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Summer is here, and that means it's time to gear up at Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main in Troy. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, family owned and operated by hunters who know their stuff. Beat the heat with premium Costa sunglasses and American-made Grizzly coolers that keep everything ice cold. Upgrade your bow at their full-service archery shop. Expert technician on staff for Hoyt and Bear bows. Call 636-775-1110 or visit Main Street in Troy. Whistle Pig Outdoors, your year-round outdoor headquarters.
Here's my problem.
Completely agree with your sentiments.
He talks about we're divided. Well, yeah, we are.
And we need to wake up as a country and realize what's going on.
1019 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
So here we are. The time is out. I'm not quite sure what this exactly means, but the totals are the Republicans need 217 votes to pass the big, beautiful bill. They've got 216 now with 0 time remaining. 2 Republicans voting no, and there are 2 Republicans who are not voting. I don't know why or what the hell's going on there, but the big, beautiful bill right now is at 216 Republican votes. They need 217 votes to pass. And so we're going to see what happens in the end here. They have 2 not voting. And so this is really a real crazy ass time right now. And it looks like 2 Republicans are the nay votes, and of course the difference. And then we've got 2 Republicans who are not voting, and that sure as heck doesn't make any sense. Let's tune in with Newsmax, who are kind of they're showing his video of the floor.
What are some of the smaller things that maybe haven't been talked about as much that will still be benefiting the American people?
Look, I think one of the smallest things that I think millions of Americans have been waiting for is the no tax on tips. You go into any restaurant in New York City, where we are sitting here today in this studio.
So we got that. They're just kind of
rehashing
the vote. But here's the thing. The Republicans could only afford to lose 3 votes, and they've lost 2. And now we're down. Now we're at 217. Thankfully, the 2 not voting, 1 just voted. So right now, as of now, the big, beautiful bill at this particular moment has passed. without the Republican who's not voting and without the 2 Republicans who voted no. So that's the story now. They have the votes to pass the big, beautiful bill, and they're doing it without 1 Republican who isn't even voting, and without 2 Republicans who have voted no. Now, of course, things can change. Votes can change as well. And so it's kind of a little bit of a crazy time, but it looks like it actually has passed, or at least the GOP has those votes. So we've got the total 217 with 0 time remaining, but all Republicans needed was 217 votes, and it appears they have it. 1 Republican not voting. Would love to know who ultimately that is. I mean, voting absent or not voting, either you better be like in the hospital on life support or whatever, but just not even to vote. I'm gonna leave open the possibility that there might be some issue. Who knows? But if you're just not voting because you don't want to be on the record one way or the other, you ought to be run out of town on a rail at that point. But anyway, Republicans have 217 votes. That's all they needed to make sure they passed the big, beautiful bill. So it appears right now, barring any kind of change in the scenery or what have you, and we obviously keep you updated on that. We're covering we're plugged into Newsmax, and they are at this point in a situation. There's a Brian Fitzpatrick is one of those individuals who I know voted no. And I don't know exactly who the other one was. As you know, Eric Burleson, who was a big, beautiful bill skeptic on Monday, was on the air with me at the top of the show at noon. Well, we had our first martini and said that he's a yes vote. So that's how all that is going. Let's plug back into Newsmax Action and see what they're saying. They're interviewing Corey Mills now as a Republican from Florida.
Stimulate our economy, looking at investing back in American innovation, American workers, American employment. So we saw that in the beginning when they said this is a tax break for the rich, well, we had over $5 trillion in revenue come into the IRS as a result of President Trump's TCJA. This will continue to do that and also help the middle class, but also get back to an America First agenda for American workers.
Talk to me a little bit about the historic nature. We heard Speaker Johnson talking about the House floor, addressing the record that we saw from the House Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries saying Democrats are about performances, Republicans are about results, but talking about the historic nature of July 4th. And we know that the president is going to be signing it on that Independence Day deadline. Will you be there? How will you be spending Independence Day?
Well, it's kind of up in the air. I may end up trying to get back if I can get back on time. If not, there's a fireworks display I'm going to take my son to at the White House, potentially try and go to the signing. But it's such a historic moment. I mean, it's not just the Independence Day of our nation, but it's independence from the economical struggles that we faced under this Bidenomics. It's the independence to have Americans actually start making their own decisions. I'm all for limiting federal government and empowering our state rights and individuals. That's what we need to be doing here. And the first step is to get a strong economy.
Yeah, I imagine that the 2 GOP members who voted no, one is this Brian Fitzpatrick guy, and the other is Thomas Massey, who was going to vote no right off the bat. I don't know who the not voting was. But anyway, it's not relevant now, as it absolutely appears that the House Republicans, they do have the votes to pass it. And of course, there was no yes vote at all from any Democrat. So, okay, now the not voting just turned into 218. So the not voting, 218. Let's go ahead and pop that up again. They're cheering, but the correspondent's still babbling on. But
stripped out that I'm vehemently in support of is things like eliminating the tax, the NFA tax, the
go back to the
things
studio.
like this, looking at the Short Act, looking at a few other things that came out of the House. Now, we can
anyway, they're not listening to me. I'm in the control room in their ear saying, go back to the studio. They just passed it. with one extra vote that they needed. Hey, go! It's Speaker Johnson speaking right now. Go to him.
The Doge Act. Doge Act
Shut
never made it
up!
to the floor, but it would actually codify it in the law and make sure that we're not playing political ping pong.
Okay, keep it up.
The American people.
Okay,
so
back to
we
the
have
House.
To do more. We have to do better. The House has done great today, but I'm not worried about today's performance.
Cut him off.
Performance of the day after and the day after. We have to keep delivering for the American people.
Congressman, we're seeing some applause right now on the House floor. Here's
Thank
House
you.
Speaker Mike
Thank
Johnson.
you. Golly.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
They missed it.
Perfect.
They missed Johnson announcing it, but that's all right.
Okay, we just saw House Speaker Mike Johnson at the podium. We were expecting him to make an address there. Looks like he just stepped up. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We
No,
also
he
saw
stepped up and said it
members of the
passed.
House clapping on the floor there. And so
He's whiz. Like worse than local news sometimes, these guys. But anyway, Johnson went up, read the vote total, and let's see what the Sergeant of Arms is doing, or the anchor's talking again.
one thing that stands out to me, no tax on American-made auto, right? That's
Right.
cool.
Anyway,
amazing.
just
Something that
okay,
stood out to me
never mind.
also
This is
was
an absolute train
the
wreck. This is like a goat rodeo watching that. Here's what happened though. So okay, it passed 218 votes, Republican votes. They only needed 217 votes, and they got it. And the only two no votes that are Brian Fitzpatrick and Thomas Massey, and there were 0 Democrat votes. Not one Democrat wanted to cooperate in this vision for Missouri or what have you. And so, I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. It's so highly political. But this is the benefit of midterms and having the Republicans who are absolutely on top of it, and having the Republicans controlling the House. And that's what elections have, consequences big time. And this is how you get things done. And I guess Tim Jones is able to pop on with us, but I think what I'll do, Ashlyn, is go ahead and take a quick break here, take a little early break here. And I'm going to chime in with Tim Jones, who I texted. I was like, are you watching this, man? He's like, yeah, I am. I said, can you pop on? He's like, yes, I can. So I'm going to check in with our politics guru, former House Speaker Tim Jones, in just a few. This is Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report. Happy Independence Day Eve.
This is News Talk STL at 1019 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com. St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and thunder-stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, Grasser Electric and Shane Grasser, who is a longtime friend of mine, just a wonderful guy. And right now, Shane, I've known him for 20 years. He's supported Common Sense Radio since I invented that name 20 years ago in 2005. And this is pretty amazing what he's done. And now, of course, his son is running most of the show. Shane's worked some real hard just to build a small business, and so happy that he's been a partner of mine in Common Sense Radio going on 20 years now. Just love this guy and love the fact that they are residential as well as your commercial, and can do anything for you, fixing knob and tube wire, taking care of business there. They could do a ton of things for you as it relates to just simply taking care of that list that you've developed over a period of like a year or something, like since Christmas, of things that you need to get to. But you know what? You're writing your autobiography. How could you possibly, take the time to do that? So let somebody else do that from Grasser Electric. They can absolutely do that for you. And that's how it's all going to work out. So grasserelectric.com for all of your electrical needs. No job is too big or too small. Don't forget about the importance of that backup generator, because that's really super important, especially as you've seen with the storms and everything else. The backup generator brought to you by Grasser Electric and installed by Grasser Electric. Also 24-hour emergency help available as well. GrasserElectric.com. That is GrasserElectric.com.
Hey, it's Vic, and I'm here with Kathy Connor at Connor Roofing. Kathy, what makes Connor Roofing different?
Hey, Vic. I'm glad that you asked. I think that what really sets Connor Roofing apart is our relationship with our customers. It's very important to us to develop that trust with the homeowner. This is what has allowed us to serve our friends and our neighbors in the St. Louis area for 30 years. Whether we are doing a roof or a gutter repair or even a full replacement, you can count on Connor for quality service and workmanship.
Thanks, Kathy. To find out more, visit them at connorroofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
The Hideout, ladies and gentlemen, this weekend should be a bomb of a one because let me tell you something. They have music all weekend long at the Hideout right there south, 10 minutes south of Gravois and 270. Really super easy to get to, Little Brennan Road, and the best food you're going to find anywhere in the land. They got that really groovy monster burger that they have there. Their pizzas, their wings, everything. And the people who work there are so happy. You know why? Because Rick Pogue and Jake and those guys take such good care of them. And check this out. They were so excited about the Hideout that they decided to go ahead and put the Hideout number 2 at the Sugar Creek Golf Club. Right. So you can go into the clubhouse there and get all the Hideout food you want. And, of course, all the Hideout drink. And it all can come to you if you really wanted to at any hole you desire because they have the Hideout girls running around in the carts out there. So, man, you can't love the Hideout enough, let me tell you. And whether it be while you're golfing or just while you're recreating out and about there in gorgeous High Ridge. It's the Hideout. Check it out on Facebook. The Hideout, just 10 minutes south of 270 in Gravois.
Colombo and Company.
Getting you ready for the 4th of July weekend on Thursday. We'll discuss the latest local news with Missouri Rep Justin Sparks at 2:20 and Dr. Randy Tobler at 3:05.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice our love.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Common Sense Radio and the Allman Report on News Talk STL, and everything kind of broke while we were on the air with the House that needed 217 votes to pass the big, beautiful bill. Got 218, with 2 of the no votes being Brian Fitzpatrick, who we expected that, and Thomas Massey, we also expected that. And we are waiting right now Speaker Johnson, who is going to make some remarks in the good old-fashioned lobby there. And it was pretty dramatic there for a second because there were a couple of no vote. These were not voting. They hadn't voted yet, and the time had run out. And so they were at 216. And then suddenly another vote kicked. There were only 2 Republicans not voting. And so one of them came and at 217. Then another one came and it was 218. So it was fairly dramatic and very, very cool. And there was not one Democrat vote, of course, because they always talk about cooperating and blah, 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 but they're all just a bunch of monsters. And Hakeem Jeffries is an Obama knockoff clown who filibustered, but he walked away. You know what's more important to him is breaking the record for the longest speech on the House floor. So he didn't care about this country. He cared about Hakeem Jeffries, Obama knockoff, who, by the way, one time called the filibuster racist, and it was reminiscent of Jim Crow. But that was 4 years ago. Now it's now. Tim Jones on the line with me with a special guest star appearance because I had texted him and said, man, are you watching this? He's like, yes, I am. And I could surely come on with you. Tim Jones, what'd you think, man?
Jamie, I had one ear on you this afternoon and one eyeball on the telly, and I was watching the numbers tick up as you were talking about them. I was fairly confident we were going to get at least a 217. How about that? We had a little breathing room, got to 218. And Jamie, this is one big, beautiful bill. It literally is. And Jamie, it's actually literally titled that, like in the congressional record. That's the actual title of the bill, which I think is so awesome. Donald Trump can now troll the liberal lunatic left in the media for all time. It'll be forever known as the one big, beautiful bill. And, Jamie, we could talk about the different components of it. And I know it should have been a lot easier. I agree with you. It should have been a lot quicker. It should have been a lot more efficient, but this is our legislative process. And I don't know if it was Margaret Thatcher or Churchill. Somebody was talking about our system once, and it may have been one of our founding fathers, but somebody said, it's the messiest system in the world, but it's also the best. And the alternatives pretty much suck.
Well, and Tim Jones, I happen to have kind of a nice little front row seat to that process because I started the Monday show with our mutual friend, Eric Burleson, who's just a stud, Congressman Eric Burleson, who you know very well. And then ended it today with Congressman Eric Burleson. And Monday, Eric was saying, I don't like this right now. Over the weekend, he was dragged through the mud in Trump world and everything else, but he stuck to it. And then today told me about the process that he and Bob Onder entered into in terms of winning some really super important Trump agenda stuff that otherwise would not have been achieved had they had, let's say, a vote on a single topic or whatever. And so they kind of went ahead and played the rhinos at their own game and gained a lot that wasn't there in the beginning of the week.
They absolutely did, Jamie. Jamie, 2 points on this. First of all, for everyone who's wringing their hands and saying, well, the bill doesn't do this and the bill doesn't do that, and they needed to do more of this and needed more of that. Sure, we always want more. We didn't get to this place overnight. The place I'm talking about is the place where the federal government has grown beyond any imagination of what the founding fathers and mothers of this country planned, right? We didn't get here overnight. It's been 60 to 70 years of a left-leaning incremental tilt of expanding the federal government into every freaking aspect of our daily lives. And so we're not going to undo it in one bill, no matter how big and no matter how beautiful it is. But Jamie, we've turned the corner. We have turned around from just passing crap in DC that's more government and more spending. So the 3 pillars of this bill remain intact. The things we talked about from the very beginning. Yes, it is the largest, most historic tax cut in our nation's history, second only to, and maybe even greater than, because of the permanency of it, of the Reagan tax cuts, which were back in the freaking early 80s, for the love of God. We haven't done anything big since then. It also has historic border funding and border security, and it unleashes American energy. This is a bill of growth, safety, and security. Those 3 main pillars were in there from the beginning, and they stayed in there, and they're there here at the end. Now, they added some things, and they were trying to get more, but they also have done historic spending restraints. And only in D.C., Jamie, could the Democrats and the media try to convince people that not growing an out-of-control, broken welfare system like Medicaid, not growing it is somehow a cut. So they're restraining the growth of Medicaid. They're getting the able-bodied, working-class Americans who should be on private health insurance off of the ever-expanding welfare rolls. Medicaid is not for able-bodied working Americans. So all those things are in the bill. It dramatically dials back the green energy scam and more. And to the point you were making about Eric Burleson, and I was getting a lot of text messages yesterday about him and our good buddy Bob Onder.
Yeah.
What's wrong with your buddies Onder and Burleson? I said, there's nothing wrong with them. They're trying to make sure that the Senate didn't gut too much of the great work that the House did. So they're doing what we always tell people to do. They were reading, oh, for the love of God, how dare they read the bill? So they were going through the bill and making sure enough of the bill was preserved. And the second thing they were doing, Jamie, that I heard Eric telling you about, they were directly speaking with the president and White House senior staff as to what else the president can do via executive order or through the executive branch to implement and improve upon the things in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Remember, every time we pass legislation, the executive branch through the agencies can interpret things certain ways. And we're hoping the Trump administration interprets everything to the benefit of the more conservative leaning aspects of the Freedom Caucus, of which Burleson and Onder are members of, to make sure that those things get implemented properly and to get as much as possible. Remember, Jamie, that the Freedom Caucus is not supposed to sit up there as some sort of legislative terrorist and just nuke every single idea that comes along. They're supposed to be the conservative conscience and the true North Star, and to bend the entire majority that's supposed to be Republican and make them as Republican as possible and eventually get to yes. They accomplished everything I just said and probably a lot more.
I think, and Tim, I think you're right. I mean, I understood some of the trepidation from Trump world about some of these actions, but a couple of things have to happen here. As I said earlier, first, you got to know that Eric Burleson and Bob Onder have been Trump allies where others have not. And so to me, they had some credibility with me. And if they had some issues that they needed to hammer out and everything else, I was more than happy to go along for the ride on that and trust them and give them the benefit of the doubt, especially since I feel like, they're elected for a reason and they're representing their constituencies. And I think they did this in the smart way. And so to me, it was nothing to me, because the minute that Burleson was getting attacked over the weekend, I wanted to have him on, not to kind of attack him too, but to kind of get his reasoning, because I knew he had to have a legitimate reason to be going out this far on a limb and have to resist kind of the people who are going to call him a traitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Jamie, everything that's adversarial in our system does not have to also be full of animosity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's so much in a republic that is adversarial, and it's designed to be that way, right? Our judicial system is designed to be adversarial. We have plaintiffs and defendants. We have prosecutors and defense attorneys. In our political system, it's designed to be adversarial. It has checks and balances. All right. We have the executive that can be checked by the legislative, which can be checked by the judiciary, and vice versa, all the way through. That's all adversarial. It doesn't mean it's animus. It doesn't mean it's full of animus or hatred.
Right.
It means that people are doing what you do in a civil society, in a constitutional republic. Every side is trying to get what's best for them. And I think that's exactly what the members of the House Freedom Caucus and the conservatives and folks like Burleson and Onder and some of the more conservative members of the Senate, like Ron Johnson, were trying to do. They all ended up voting for the bill. Even Josh Hawley, right? We were critical of him a few weeks ago about some of the comments he was making, and he voted for the bill as well. So kudos and congrats to our Missouri delegation, who all voted for the One Big Beautiful Bill, at least the Republicans, the 6 Republicans out of the 8. And I think they all, in their way, made the bill better.
Yep.
And Jamie,
they absolutely
it's
did.
Historic tax relief. It's historic regulatory reform. It's historic spending restraint. And guess what, Jamie? As you talked about this week, we can go back and do another one later this year. They're in the rules. There can be another reconciliation bill in 2025, and if they have the gumption for it and the cojones in the Constitution, they can actually do a third one in 2026 before the midterm.
Yeah. And again, I think this. I mean, like the Thomas Masseys of the world. Listen, I don't hate the guy. He is what he is. but give me somebody who is both in and out and out and in and playing the game and trying to muscle this while trying to figure out working on this any day. And that would be a Burleson or an Onder or any of these other people who really kind of expressed themselves initially, had some doubts and then worked with the rhinos. And in some cases, I do believe, Tim, I used this expression earlier, where it looked like Eric and Bob and those guys looked like they were kind of telling the rhinos, hey, look over there. And the rhinos would look over there, and then they'd put all this other great stuff in there while they weren't looking. So, I think I'm really happy about it. I think there are some issues that we're always going to be unhappy about to a certain degree, spending wise. But I think this has been a really interesting process, and I'm really, really impressed with MAGA world as it articulated itself in the House of Representatives as well as in the Senate.
Yeah, Jamie, look, if you're going to turn the Titanic around, which is what you're trying to do with the federal Leviathan, you have to start by not doing what was being done in the previous administration. So in the previous administration, the legislation that they passed or the regulatory actions they took or the executive actions that Biden's auto pen signed, I don't know who actually pushed the button, but, the pen signed it. The things they did, Jamie, what did they do? They increased taxes. They increased spending dramatically, more than we've seen in the previous 200 years. They took away freedoms and liberties. They ruined our reputation around the globe. It was weakness through a lack of leadership. And so that's what they did. What is this administration doing? The direct opposite. We've seen all the executive actions. And so isn't it great that the legislature could finally join in what Donald Trump's been doing through the executive branch the last 6 months?
Yeah.
So finally, the legislative branch has said, no, we're not going to raise taxes. We're going to lower them. We're not going to increase the regulatory burden. We're going to remove a big chunk of it. We're not going to continue to allow our borders to be invaded. We're going to tighten and lock them down. And so all of those things were done. So before you completely reverse course from the last many decades, you have to stop doing what was being done. And that's what the One Big Beautiful Bill does, and then some.
Right on. Well, Tim Jones, great. We'll be looking forward to hearing you and Christopher Arps talk about all this and download all of this at 4 o'clock for the Tim Jones and the Christopher Arps show. Awesome show here on News Talk STL. Appreciate you so much, brother, and I'll be tuning in just a little later on.
Hey, thanks, Jamie, for reaching out. Thanks for letting me
All right,
jump
brother.
on. And
I'm glad.
Love the coverage today. Have a great Independence Day weekend.
I appreciate that so much. And I know that Tony Colombo, you too, buddy, is going to, probably by the time Tony hits the air, Speaker Johnson will have spoken because he's about to. Steve Scalise is speaking right now. And to Jason, I mean, you don't have to have I don't glean my trust of Burleson and Onder from a personal relationship. It's from reading. You don't have to have a personal relationship with somebody to know that they support President Trump and you can trust them. And that just takes a basic cursory spin around the internet every once in a while, and you'll see what they do. So I don't have any special knowledge of their working relationship with President Trump or getting him elected. I just, turn on a computer or look at my phone from time to time and see what they're up to. So you don't need a personal relationship with somebody to know exactly what they've been up to. Or if you want to know what they've been up to, you just look. It's really super easy. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful Independence Day. Ashlyn, thank you so much for a fantastic week as always. And folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And what a great day for our country. And I'm talking about Independence Day. Today was a pretty good day for our country. Independence Day, for sure, a great day for our country, and I'm going to enjoy it. All right, coming up, we've got Tony Colombo and Company, who's going to continue the coverage of the passage of the big, beautiful bill. Have a good one, everybody.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every weekday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and